All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the kitchen table, episode 24. Next to last episode. My last solo episode of season 1. Hopefully there's a season 2. Hopefully there's a season 3, season 4, season 5. I have to reevaluate. I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. Interviews, find the time to do it, all that stuff. I got to tell you, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate all the support from everyone. I'm having a blast. I don't want to say this isn't hard work. You know, like anybody who's like a content creator or whatever, if you hear them saying it's hard work, I don't know. It's not hard work. Then they've never really done real hard work in life. You know, what normal people, blue collar people do, cops, firemen, union guys, that's hard work. This is a little challenging for sure, but it's time consuming more than anything, especially if you have a job. And I have a job, as I've told all you guys, I have a part-time job in retirement because I got to keep working. I got to keep looking for my purpose. Hopefully this is it. But it's not that it's hard. It's not hard to sit here and talk into a microphone, into a laptop, or into a camera. It's not hard for me to do that. You know, it's kind of fun. It's time consuming. Time consuming when you talk for half an hour, or do an interview and then edit everything and get all the bells and whistles on the video and edit the video and all that stuff. It's time consuming. It's not that it's hard work. It's a little challenging, but I don't consider this hard. If this takes off and becomes successful, if I have the success that I'm hoping that I have in the coming years or whatever it may be, it might get a little... I won't do that job, and I'll have more time to do this and do things real well. Get better equipment, get better editing stuff, find the time to do stuff, do better, more interviews, travel to do interviews. Maybe I'll get on some podcasts. I don't know who's watching, but if there's anybody out there watching that wants me on their podcast so we can get a good message out, that's it. I don't know. But this is episode 24. I didn't know if I was going to get here or not. Episode 25 is filmed, cut, copied, pasted already. It was awesome. Had a great time with Brian Quinns. That one's ready to go out next Sunday. I believe it's the 19th. It'll be coming out. This one will be coming out this Sunday. What is it? The 12th, I think? Mother's Day. It'll be Mother's Day when this episode comes out, episode 24 of The Kitchen Table. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, especially my wife. She's the best mother ever to our children. Happy Mother's Day to my mother-in-law. Happy Mother's Day to my sisters and to all the mothers out there that listen to the show. Happy Mother's Day. You guys deserve a very special day, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's do the intro. Welcome to the kitchen table. I'm Kenny D, your host, episode 24. Thanks for joining me. For all you people who have followed the show, watched the show, please check it out on YouTube, subscribe, like, the whole 9 yards. If you're new to the show, welcome to the kitchen table. This is a show spreading mental health awareness in the first responder community, but not exclusive to it, because I believe everyone has experienced some sort of mental health, depression, sadness. I mean, there's clinical depression that somebody brought up, and there's reactive depression, which I don't know, I'm not an expert, but probably most of my stuff has been reactive depression. I don't know enough about that stuff. It'd be nice to get a doctor on, a professional on one day and speak to him about it, because I'm not educated enough on that. I just know how I felt in the past through experiences, through incidents, and just kind of the way my mind works. But if you're new to the kitchen table, welcome. There will always be a seat for you at the kitchen table. Thank you so much for joining me. Like the channel, follow it. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, give me some good stars. I don't know, whatever you guys want to do. I really appreciate the support. The more ears out there, just share it. The more ears out there, the more eyes on me, the better. We can spread this message. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you are not aware of that, now you are. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So if you know of anybody or yourself having issues, check on your friends. Give them a call. See how they're doing. Just check up on them. See if they want to talk. Give them some information. There's been lots of events and stuff like that going on. Call 988 if you're really, really, really having problems. 988 is a good resource for people with issues, and it can get them the help that they possibly need. Not really going to go over too much mental health stuff today because it's my last solo episode and I kind of wanted to make this happy and fun. I don't know if you guys can hear it or if you can see it, but I get sinus infections pretty bad. And I've had one all week and it's brutal. And I've been putting off this video and this episode as long as I could, but I couldn't put it off any longer. I had to get this out there because I got to get it edited and then editing down to the short videos and get those out too. It's just time consuming. So I had to get this one out there. So I probably sound like all stuffed up to you because I am all stuffed up, but still going to the gym, still doing my thing, still doing my daily processes, as everyone knows, because it's keeping me in a good mood. It's keeping me going. I took the weekend off to reset, and you know, one of the guys joked with me and stuff, so we had a good back and forth. It was really funny. But I'm back. Here I am. It's Thursday. Rangers are up 2-0 on Carolina. They're playing tonight. I'm really excited. It's great to see everybody on social media supporting the Rangers. I'm a Ranger fan. I know not everybody is, but I am. I love it. I love watching it. It's been since 94 since they won the Cup. When they won the Cup the last time, I know exactly where I was. I was in the Navy. I was in my apartment watching on ESPN, and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun. I was all by myself cheering. My sister Maureen called me to celebrate with me, but it was all by myself, and nobody cared. Nobody gave a fuck down there when I went to work the next day, but I gave a fuck. Anyway, that's tonight. Ranger game tonight. Let's go Rangers. So I just wanted to make this episode kind of just talk about some fun stuff. I always try and bring up some incidents. And what I'm going to do a little later on, next couple of minutes, is kind of segue into the episode 25, which is Brian Quinn, lad of 30, the Walter Scott Medal recipient for a high-rise roof rope rescue. And I interviewed him. He's a friend of mine. I was at the firehouse, at the kitchen table. So we talked about his life a little bit, talked about his time in the Marine Corps. And then we got into the roof rope rescue, which he went out floor 17 to save a woman who was hanging on the windowsill, out her window on floor 16. Unbelievable, the balls on this kid to do this. And to hear the story from him was great. And what was, also great about it was because I was there as well. I was the first engine chauffeur. So today, I'm going to kind of just tell my side of the story, what I was doing. I didn't see him out the window. I couldn't. He was in the building. I wasn't in the building. I was first engine chauffeur. But it was just so great to be part of that. It was so great to talk to him again and relive that moment and see how excited he was and how excited and happy we all were for him. And everybody got out safe. The woman, everyone. So it was so great. I'm going to segue into that by telling my side of the story in a couple of minutes. But again, 25 is filmed. It's done. It's out there. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully my interview skills are good. But again, this is a learning process. As the channel grows, my interview skills will grow. The more guests I'll have, the better equipment I'll have, the more the kitchen table family grows with me. Sticking with me. So the channel will grow. You guys will grow with me. Hopefully we achieve the success that we all want to achieve in life. And hopefully this is successful and brings me to new heights where I can get this message out to, who knows, as many people as possible. I am wearing, and today I want to show you, today I'm wearing the One More Wave shirt. And this is a nonprofit run by veterans, for veterans who have experienced traumatic incidents, and it gets them out surfing again. It gets them feeling alive again. Guys that have lost limbs and all sorts of stuff. These guys, get those guys back on a surfboard, back out into the ocean, back out on waves. And one of the guys that I know that is part of that operation is a great, great dude. I don't know if he watches. I'm just going to call his first name Alex. I hope you're watching. One More Wave, supporting you guys. So I hope to get to see you soon. I think my son might be going out that way in the summer. I might meet him. Anyway, whatever. One More Wave, guys. I'm gonna link One More Wave in the description for this episode. Check it out. Donate. Really, really great nonprofit. Run by veterans, for veterans. Check it out. So today, let's see. What can we talk about today? I was gonna bring up some funny EMS incidents before I get into the quick roof rope rescue story. But let's see what I'm thinking of. So on a fire department, New York City Fire Department, EMS and FDNY were separate jobs, separate entities. They weren't together. They didn't merge until, I should know this, but I don't. I want to say it was the mid to late 90s when they merged, probably like mid 90s. I'm not sure. I can't be 100% sure. Anyway, EMS was a different job altogether, and the fire department were two different, jobs. Then they merged. So EMS became FDNY EMS, FDNY paramedics, and FDNY firemen were just FDNY firemen. But what that did was it made the FDNY firefighter side of the job have to go on a ton of medical runs. The engines started going on all these medical runs with EMS and with the paramedics, because there's just not enough EMS and paramedics in the city to handle the call volume. Because New York City, 1.5 million medical runs last year, at least. That's for I don't know, I think there's only 4,000 or 5,000 EMS, emergency medical technicians and paramedics on the job. They just can't handle that volume of calls. So the FDNY had to start taking over a lot of these medical runs. So what happens is we'll get a call, the engine will get a call, and we'll go on a medical run. And we can administer oxygen, defibrillate people, do CPR, basic first aid. We don't transport. So most of the time we have to wait for an ambulance to show up to help them out. Then we assist them. So the FDNY rigs do not transport. I'm not going to say ever, because it's happened. But for the most part, they don't transport. They wait for the ambulance to show up. We assist them once they get there in CPR, and then they can start administering medications to people that are in cardiac arrest as we continue CPR. So it's like levels of medical care. FDNY, we are basic first responders. We call ourselves CFRD, Certified First Responders and Defibrillators. And then you have a level above care, which are EMTs. And then you have, that's BLS, Basic Life Support. And then you have the paramedics, which are ALS, Advanced Life Support. And it just goes like that. And then you get them to the hospital, and it's just levels of care, basically. So as an engine, some engines don't do as many EMS runs as others. Us in 59 engine did, oh boy, over 2,000 EMS runs a year. Like, we do a ton of EMS runs. We're one of the top companies, I think, for EMS runs. 2,000, 2,500. We do a total of about 6,500 runs a year, and say 2,000, 2,500 are EMS runs, medical runs. It's just nonstop up in uptown Manhattan, Harlem specifically. But anyway, some of these runs that we go on, did you hear my voice crack? Some of these runs that we go on are pretty difficult. You do a lot of CPR, you deal with a lot of, excuse me, that's my sinuses. We do a lot of CPR. We've dealt with a lot of administering Narcan for drug overdoses. That's a lot more recently. Doing a lot more Narcan. Any medical run you can think of. Stabbing, shootings, difficulty breathings is a lot of them. Heart attack, stroke, car accidents on the medical side, all sorts of stuff. But, you know, you do it so much that you kind of get used to them, except when it comes to a child. You don't want to you hate dealing with EMS runs with a child. Those are just really the worst. But I've been on some pretty fucked up EMS runs. You know, I mentioned in the last episode, I said the word or the phrase funny, not funny. And in the first responder community, you have to have a dark sense of humor, but respectfully, to deal with a lot of these runs. So some of the funny, not funny EMS runs that I've dealt with that are memorable, that weren't too traumatic for me, but just like, holy shit, once you realize what's going on. We had to defibrillate somebody in a Burger King on 125th Street. And this was early on in my career. And it was the craziest thing, because most of the time when you get there and somebody's in cardiac arrest, you immediately, like, there's a procedure. You immediately throw the defibrillator on. Somebody's putting the defibrillator on, the patches and all that stuff, and the defibrillator will check to see if there's a heart rhythm enough to shock the person. A lot of times there isn't, but a lot of times there are. So most of the time when I've defibrillated somebody, hasn't really worked. Or it has worked, it just got them back into a rhythm or a pulse, but it didn't like wake them up. You know what I mean? Like you see in the movies, like you see people going clear and they shock them and all of a sudden their body jumps like off the freaking gurney and they wake right up. That shit doesn't fucking happen. At least you don't think it happens. Most of the time that doesn't happen. What happens with a defibrillator is you put the pads, you put the sticky pads on them. The defibrillator is already on, and then you got to stop touching the patient. If you're doing CPR, you cannot touch them. Nobody can be touching any part of that patient because it will disrupt the rhythm that the machine feels. So the machine is taking 30 seconds or so to try and feel some sort of rhythm in that person's body, whether they need a shock or not. And it will say shock advised or no shock advised. And then if it says shock advised, it'll power up and it'll say clear the patient, stay clear of the patient. And you as a fireman, you have to make sure everybody's clear and nobody's touching that patient, because if you shock that thing while somebody's touching that patient, they're going to get zapped as well. And the person doesn't fly up off the freaking ground a couple of feet. Their body basically just stiffens up real quick and then goes back. So I've shocked a ton of people. You know, when you go on an EMS run, you're with a unit, you're with a team, you're not by yourself. So everybody has a job, and then we switch jobs. Like it's like a rotation almost when we're doing CPR. So the guy, so we're shocking people, and like I said, most of the time, we've gotten rhythms back and pulses back with a shock, but no one's ever, except for one time, has ever woken up, like eyes open and sat up from a shock, except for this one time. And it was on 125th Street in a Burger King. I want to say it's between Lenox and Powell or Powell and Douglas. I can't be 100% sure. It's been a while. Anyway, we go to this Burger King, and there's a guy. We believe he was homeless at the time, but I don't remember for sure. And there's a guy laying in the middle of Burger King, dead, no pulse, not breathing. And we're like, all right, now we're in the middle of. And this is really before iPhone, so nobody was really filming. And now we're in the middle of a very crowded Burger King on 125th Street, on the busiest block in Harlem or in Uptown Manhattan. And now we have to go to work on this guy. And so now the guys are doing CPR. We're getting all our equipment out, doing the right thing. No ambulance there yet. The boss is, calling for the ambulance, whatever. So we get the pads on the guy, and I believe we still had 4 men on the engine. We had the door guy. So this is how early on it was. Anybody who's a fireman in New York City knows if we still had the door guy, the doorman, the door position, that's how long ago it was. It was even before pre-hospital save awards came out. So we get our equipment on. We put the pad. I don't remember exactly who put the pads on them or whatever, but we were all there. And the defibrillator, now we stop CPR and stuff. The defibrillator is checking for a rhythm. And we're like, okay. And it says shock advised. And we're like, oh shit, okay, cool, shock advised. So clear, we all clear the patient. Nobody's touching him. So my buddy, I believe, I don't think it was me that pressed the button. He presses the shock button. It shocks the guy. And the fucking guy opens his eyes, wakes up, and like sits up and goes, ah! We all were like, holy shit! It scared the shit out of all of us because that has never happened. It's so rare that if you shock somebody with a defibrillator, they actually wake up, sit up, and like come to and like try to like run. We were like, holy shit! Like we almost didn't know what to do. We had to like hold the guy down, but I don't know. Like some of the guys like, oh, maybe he wasn't even dead, but if he wasn't dead, if his heart was in some sort of rhythm that just put it back into the right rhythm and woke him up like he was a zombie, and he fucking screamed and his arms came up and we were all like a bunch of little girls and went back like holy shit like that. But that was we still talk about that when the 4 of us get together. We're like, oh, you remember that guy? We fucking shocked him and we woke up. Never again, or never before in my career that I can remember that we defibrillated somebody, that we shocked somebody, that they came to and opened their eyes and woke up. I'm sure it's happened in the city. I'm sure there's probably stories of anybody who's been watching that it's happened, but never to me, never again has that happened that I remember. We've gotten pulses back, but nobody's ever woken up like that. It was crazy. It looked like it was something out of the movies that only you see in the movies. But that was a funny story, man, on 125th Street in Burger King, nonetheless. Let's see. We got another one before I get into my roof rope rescue story that I was the engine chauffeur. We had a guy. The one that I'm remembering right now is we get a call, and I had been on a little while. You know, I was getting some time. I've been on a ton of EMS runs. So it's early morning. I believe it was like a Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. I used to love, and it was warm. So I think it was the summertime. I used to love early morning Sundays because for some reason Sundays up in Harlem were slow. Like you had like a couple hours where you didn't get any runs. It was nice out. The sun was coming up. And it was nice. But about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, the sun's coming up. It's just getting light out. And we get a call for pedestrian struck. So we get those all the time. Somebody gets hit by a car. They're under the car. They got flown by the car. They just get bumped by the car. We always get pedestrian struck. So this one we get pedestrian struck on Lenox Avenue, and it was either 128 or 129, something like that. Not far from the firehouse. So we get there, and there's a car there. It's early morning. We're in front of a bodega. It's right on the corner. There's a car there, but there's no pedestrian. And they're like, oh, he went inside. He went back into the bodega. I'm like, oh, all right. This guy, if he walked back into the bodega, he's all right. He must not be that bad. But then we start walking into the bodega to look for the guy, and you get into the bodega and you see this trail of blood on the bodega floor. And it's just like a snail trail of blood. And it goes all the way back. The counter's on your left when you walk into the bodega, and the counter goes all the way down the store, right? Probably 25 feet. So the trail of blood goes down the counter and around the counter and all the way back up to the front of the counter where the register is. And there's a fucking guy laying, people on video could see this, he's laying up against the wall and his leg is up. And you could see his eyes are wide, and he's just he looks like he's in shock, like he's going into shock. But he's holding his leg up. And we're like, yo, what the fuck, dude? What happened? You all right? And he's laying there, and he's kind of holding on for dear life, on either side of the counter and the shelves. And his leg is up in the air. And he's wearing long pants, socks, and I think he's wearing high top sneakers, but I can't remember for sure. So we're like, what the fuck, dude? What's going on? So we check him. And it turns out his foot is severed in half. The only thing keeping his foot on was the fucking long sock that he had on. So his leg is it's just blood pooling everywhere. And we're like, holy shit, this fucking guy's, and the bone is sticking out. So he's got, the only reason why his foot wasn't left in the street is because he had that sock on. And this fucking guy dragged himself from the street. He got hit. The car ran over his foot and ankle. And he I don't know if he fell down or whatever, but he fucking got to the store and dragged himself all the way back and all the way back around the counter. And we were like, holy fucking shit. His foot was completely severed from the ankle down. It was crazy. Blood everywhere. We had to put a tourniquet on him. The ambulance shows up, and even the ambulance was like, what the hell's going on? Come on, bro, get up. And then we were like, look at his foot. And they were like, holy shit. And then we went into fucking, panic mode. Not panic mode, but we had to tourniquet the guy and get him on the ambulance quick, because I don't know what happened to that guy. I think he lived, but he's lived without a foot. That's for fucking sure. So that was crazy that I just thought that was crazy that the guy got hit, cut his foot off, and dragged himself basically 50, 60 feet, all the way down to the bottom of the bodega, around the counter, and all the way up to the front of the counter, like he was either going to make a phone call or serve customers or some shit like that. But there's so many crazy EMS runs that you see in the city of New York. I like to tell fire stories because I love being the fireman part of it. But the crazy, crazy stories that most people can understand or relate to are the EMS, the medical stories, because everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets fucking sick or hit by cars or some sort of shit. But there's so many crazy EMS runs, and I'm sure anybody who's a paramedic, fireman, or cop has stories out the wazoo. We could sit and tell stories, and we'll all understand each other. So it's just wild that those are two EMS runs that were memorable to me that are funny, but they're not funny because, people were in distress and some guy lost his foot. But at the time, we were like, holy shit. And then we talked about that one. But it was crazy. But I have so many stories that I could tell. So I'm at about 25 minutes here. I want to get into the segue of the roof rope rescue for next week's episode. And this is how I'll end season 24 of The Kitchen Table. So it was September 1st, 2020. Nice day out. We had just had lunch. And I believe we were cleaning up from lunch. I had time on now, so we were helping out cleaning up. Or I might even, I want to say that I turned out the companies, but I can't remember for sure. When I say I turned out the companies, that when the tones went off for the fire, I'm the one that read the ticket. I can't remember. I thought I did, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we get a run for fire. And it's in a high rise. Well, the address came in. 3 different addresses came in, right? The first address came in on 135th Street and Lenox Avenue because there's a high rise there. But the address was wrong. So we were like, this isn't right. This doesn't seem right. That's not right. And then as we were getting ready, another address came over on 132nd Street and a high rise. So we're like, okay, so me and Brian, we pop the doors. Brian's the OV. I'm the engine chauffeur. While everybody's getting ready, we know we're going to a fire. Everybody's getting ready. We walk out of the firehouse and we look to where the addresses they say that are coming from, and we see smoke. And we're like, all right, we see it and smell it. We're like, all right, we got something. But you can't tell exactly where it's coming from. It's coming from a upper floor in one of those high rises. There's a bank of high rises if you come off of Lenox Avenue from the firehouse. It's right across the street, literally, right across Lenox Avenue. So we're like, okay, now we know it's not the address on 135th Street. How that came in, don't even know. Somebody probably called from there and gave them their address. So we know that address is wrong. So we get in a rig, pull out of quarters, and that's when we got another address on Lenox Avenue. I want to say it was 720 Lenox. Can't be too sure. So I make the left. Now everybody's following me. Now again, in my head, I got 3 fucking different addresses. When an engine chauffeur, when we're going to fires and we're first due, the truck follows the engine. Okay? You communicate with the truck guy, the truck chauffeur. I always did. The truck follows the engine to the job. So if you go to the wrong fucking job, the wrong fire, the wrong address, the wrong street, you're out of the game. You might be out of the game. Somebody else is coming in and they might take the front of the building. They might take your hydrant, whatever. As an engine chauffeur, it is critical that you know exactly where you're going. You know exactly what the address is, and you know the exact position that you have to get there to, and the route that you have to take, because people are following you. Especially if you have a young chauffeur, a young truck chauffeur that is relying on you to get there. You have to know what the fuck you're doing. So I got 3 different addresses. I'm the guy. I'm the man that everybody's got to follow. So I pull out of quarters. I look left. I know I'm going left. So I go left, and I can see the smoke. I get to the corner, and I make a right. Now, the building that the fire was in was directly in front of us. But we didn't have that. That address wasn't sure. They were saying 132, 132. We're on 133. I make the left out of quarters. I make the right on Lenox. Still not exactly sure where that address is. Before I committed to making the left on 132, because if I committed to 132 and went down 132, we were fucked. We were out of the game. We would have went to a different high rise. The woman that was hanging out of the building that we didn't know about yet would have, God knows what would have happened to her. Somebody else would have got up there. Somebody else would have put the fire out. Somebody else would have got her. A different company other than First Due. So we get to the corner, and as I'm looking, I see her. I see the fire. I see the smoke. I see the woman hanging off the window, and I see people everywhere. So I just radioed to the truck chauffeur, Nick Foley, and I go, it's not on 132. It's 720 Lenox. It's on Lenox. It's on Lenox. So I had to make a quick U-turn, and he had to follow me. So I just prayed to God from what I saw that was the right building that we were going to. Because if we went down 132 Street, we were fucked. Everybody was fucked on that call. I would have been to blame for going to the wrong fucking building, even though we had 3 different addresses. Turn around. Now, there's people all fucking over Lenox Avenue. They're all on the side of the building watching. They're all over the sidewalk. Now, this high-rise has a driveway. So I have to pull into the driveway and let the guys out and then pull up to the hydrant. There was nowhere for me to, that I saw, to key the offense or key a hydrant or key the Siamese or whatever to get to the hydrant and leave a trail of 3.5-inch hose to supply the building. On a high-rise in the New York City Fire Department, or in New York City on a high-rise above 7 floors, you have to have a standpipe system. You have to have, and a standpipe system is an internal basic fire suppression system where water is supplied somehow or another, whether it's main fed, whether there's a gravity tower, or you have to supply the building with water from the hydrant. You always have to supply the building with water from the hydrant no matter what. No matter whether there's a gravity tank, a pump, or main fed from the city. Doesn't matter, because upper floor fires, you have way less pressure to put that fire out. So I knew that it was an upper floor fire. You could see the smoke. It was coming in on 15 or 16. So I knew that I had to supply that building as fucking quick as I had to, as possibly could happen. I had to let the guys out. Now we're hearing, person on the ledge. You see all the people fucking looking, hundreds and hundreds of people were looking up, screaming, filming, the whole 9 yards. I let the guys out. The truck pulls in behind me. I jump back in the engine. I can't key the anything to flake out hose because there's millions of people there and there's nothing to flake it out with. So I drive onto the sidewalk, big wide sidewalk, to the fucking fire hydrant, which is about 7 lengths of hose, of 3.5-inch, 50-foot hose to the Siamese. The Siamese was to the right of the front door behind a bunch of bushes that you had to climb over, cut down, the whole kit and caboodle. So I pull up to the hydrant. Now I'm on the sidewalk. I couldn't go in the street because there were double parked cars everywhere and traffic was all backed up. So now I'm on the sidewalk where there's fucking thousands of people. And I got to get them all out of the way, get to the hydrant. And another thing that I didn't think of until later on was on that sidewalk, we're above train tunnels. So that big heavy engine is on a sidewalk above basically a big hole, a big tunnel. So then I started thinking, holy shit, what if this collapses? What if the rig falls in through the fucking sidewalk? Which, sidewalks have crumbled in the past in New York City. Believe me, it's crazy. So now I just took a chance. I get to the hydrant and second due engine is still not there yet. Second due truck still isn't there. So now I jump off the back of the rig and I'm pretty athletic. I'm pretty fast. And for a little guy like me, I'm pretty strong. And when the adrenaline's going, I just jumped off the back of the rig, grabbed my 3.5-inch folds, and ran out about 100 feet. Ran back, grabbed 2 more folds, ran back another 100 feet, and did that 3 times. And then I ran back to the front of where the 3.5-inch, the first 3.5-inch hose is, where the hookup is, and I stretched that to the Siamese. I ended up stretching 8 lengths of 3.5-inch hose to the high-rise to supply the Siamese to get water into the building for them to put the fire out. But while all that's going on, while all those guys are going in the building and all this radio traffic's going on and that people are like, there's a woman out the building and all this is going on, I had to tune all that out. I knew it was going on. I knew it was happening. I knew that there was a woman on the ledge. I knew that they were initiating a roof rope rescue. But I had to tune all that out and get my job done. The first 2-3 minutes of an engine chauffeur's job when there's a fire is the most hectic thing in the world for an engine guy. So now some civilian is like, you need help? And I was like, yeah, grab that hose and just yank it up that way. I had some civilian helping me real quick to grab a little bit of hose. So I'm running back and forth from the engine to the Siamese, got all my tools, hooking up to the engine. Now other companies are starting to come up. The second due engine chauffeur was on the ball. I guess I was a little too far from the hydrant. He moved my engine up while I was hooking up to get closer to the hydrant, to be in a better position. I think it was Garifas from 69 Engine, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I believe that's who it was. He was on the ball. He was awesome. And that's what's one great about the 16th Battalion is we are all on the same team. we know that we can rely on each other. We know good companies are coming in to help us. So I knew whoever was coming in, whoever's driving that engine, was going to be on fucking point and helping me out. Love those guys. They love us. We're all together and we all trust each other. So I knew that I was going to have good help. I believe he moved the engine up. I believe he was hooking up. I was hooking up to the Siamese, so it's teamwork. Now we got two guys working. So as I'm hooking up to the Siamese to supply the building, I mean, literally the corner of the building where the woman was hanging out was 10 feet away from me, 10 to 15 feet away from me. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people looking up. They're like, you got to do something. You got to help. Get in there. And I'm like, and I hear it all going on. I have a job to do. I have to get my job done. I can't go looking to see the show. It was fun and not fun at the same time because I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to see that too, just like all those other people, but I had a job to do and I couldn't even watch. I had a front row seat. I had a front row ticket seat to the show and I wasn't able to fucking see it. Well, all those people were pointing up. They're all looking and I was just hooking up, man. Finally get hooked up. Still can't go look because I got to run back to the engine, charge the line, put it in pumps, do the whole 9 yards, let them know there's water coming. And boom, he had her, I believe he had her, held. He was out the window already. He was holding her by the time I had gotten water up to them guys and they put the fire out. I believe that building is main fed as well. But again, it's an upper floor fire. They probably didn't have too much pressure on their line. But I believe that he was holding her before they got water on the fire, which makes it even more intense because that fire could have started coming out the windows, more heavy smoke, and it could have been really, really bad. So I think that's what happened. So he gets her. I'm in the street, and what they say as an engine chauffeur is hook up and look up. Like you don't get to go. You have 2 or 3 minutes of sheer terror, and then you get to watch everybody else have fun in the building. So that's what happens. I hook up, look up. I was standing down there, with 69's engine chauffeur and a couple other guys show up, but the job is done already. Your job at that point is pretty much done already, unless shit goes really bad, unless you lose a water source for some reason. He, as a second due engine chauffeur, he had to come in and find a positive water source before he can help me. So I had to make sure I had a positive water source. It's a lot of hectic stuff being an engine chauffeur, especially when something like that's going on. You're hearing all the transmissions, you know what's going on, and there's nothing that you can do to watch that or help those guys out the window. You have a specific job to do, and that's get water to that building, in that line to that building, so those guys can put that fire out, which is the most important thing. He was holding her. He had it before the water was on the fire, which is unbelievable. Fucking on floor 16 out of high rise. That is so amazing. I'm so proud of him. It was so awesome to be part of that, to be part of history. If you don't know, a roof rope rescue in the fire department of the city of New York is very rare. It does happen. It has happened in the past. It has happened since then, but it's extremely rare. It doesn't happen all that often. Maybe once a year. Just recently, they had one where 3 guys had to go out the window, which is unbelievable. 3 guys had to make 3 roof rope rescues at one job. And hopefully I get to talk to one of the guys about that. But it's a rare occurrence at a fire. Usually you're able to get people in through the interior or whatever. You don't have to make the roof rope rescue. So it's not a common thing, but it's something that's drilled on every single day. Every week you repack the life-saving rope. That's the rope that we use. It's called a life-saving rope. I'm not going to go into the details about it, but it's a big, long rope that can hold a lot of weight. And we've drilled on that and trained in that in Proby school, in the firehouse, almost every single day. At least once a week, the ropes are packed, or the engine packs the rope once a week, repacks the rope, the truck repacks the rope, and every time you pull that rope out, you're drilling on it. You're talking about it. It's a constant occurrence in the fire department of the city of New York, especially in 30 truck. Those guys talk about that, drill on it all the time. So they always maintain a state of readiness. Brian and those guys were always in a state of readiness, knew what to do. So this way, when they got up there, you see my microphone falling? I'm still an amateur about this. So this way, when they got there, they knew exactly what to do. They stayed calm. They were probably terrified, but stayed calm, focused on their task, focused on what they had to do. realized they didn't have a substantial object, overcame that and figured it out quickly. Another guy showed up to do the rope, who was a rope instructor from 25 Truck. To do all that, the fire department in the city of New York are always ready. You don't have to get ready when shit like that happens. And you never know when it's going to happen. Just like Brian says, he's always ready. It could be the middle of the day when your pants are down, when you just least expect it is when crazy shit hits the fan. It happens all the time. The middle of the night fires you're kind of expecting it. It's cold. People using heaters, da-da-da-da-da. You're like, all right, well, it's going to happen. But a lot of times in the middle of the day, right after lunch, when you're cleaning up, that you're not expecting it is when shit like that hits the fan. When you have to do something that you're not, that's a rare occurrence that you don't do all the time. But you've drilled on it so much, you've maintained a state of readiness at all times. So kudos to 30 Truck. Kudos to anybody who's hung off a rope at a fire and made roof rope rescues. That's not an easy thing to do for all involved. Anchorman, fucking relay guy, guy on the rope, all the people in the building, all the brothers in the building. The fire department of New York is the premier, the best fire department in the world. I don't care what anybody says. The most resources, best trained, aggressive interior attack. That's what we do. Guys are always in a state of readiness. You have to be. If you're not, find a different profession. Anyway, that's it. That's my story. I'm so proud to be part of history. Whenever that goes down, whenever we get together and talk about that, I could say that I was there. First due engine chauffeur. I even broke the fucking borough commander's balls when he showed up for the interview. I was like, yo, Chief, didn't you see the guy get the water to the building? He was laughing. It was great. We were in such a high, especially Brian, after that for so long because of the rarity of it. And it all worked out. Everybody went home safe. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 24 done of The Kitchen Table. The end of my first season, solo videos, solo audios. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Let's hope that this takes off and we build a new chapter and we figure it out and I will reevaluate everything. I'm going to take some time off. My son's going to college in the fall. I want to spend the summer with him, do as much as we possibly can. That's why I'm taking a break. Maybe I'll have it all figured out by then. But I can't thank you guys enough for listening to me every week, for watching my videos, for supporting me. Thank you guys. Thank you. Hit all the links in the description. All the things that I talk about. I'm going to talk about today. One More Wave, Friends of Firefighters, Tomahawk Charitable Solutions, livelikeChris.org. Check those out. Okay? Check me out on Instagram at thekitchentable59. And check out my short independent film written and produced by New York City firemen called No Will. Check that out on YouTube. No Will Film on YouTube. Thank you guys. I hope everyone enjoys their summer. I hope you enjoy the final episode 25 next week. Brian Quinn is a great guy. Please watch it. Please support him. Remember, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Check on your friends. I hope everyone has a great summer. And remember, it must be true if you heard it at the kitchen table. I'll see you guys at the big one.